Today, we're breaking down Perplexity, the AI giant whose branding apparently every new startup wants to copy nowadays. Welcome to episode 66 of the App Breakdown. Perplexity clearly knows how to make something sexy, they know how to make something beautiful, and so in this episode, I'll mostly be on the lookout for UIs and animations. I have used Perplexity in the past, but I haven't done so in a long time, and I also did not use it extensively because I'm mostly a Claude user, so I'm sure I'm also going to learn a few things today. Let's dive right into it. Perplexity. Oh, okay, it seems a bit of a glitch, but I like that they gave me the option to go straight into the chat. If you notice here, I'm gonna close it and open again. They show the chat and then they pull the view. I wish they just decided between one of the two, either pull the view or just show me the chat. But it's cool that I can just click on the top right and get access to the chat without being logged in. I'm actually gonna see what this experience looks like because I'm pretty interested by it. So here on the not logged in home experience, we have the profile on the top left. I'm guessing that's gonna tell me to create an account. Then we have photos. I'm not sure what those are on the top right. We have the logo and we have the text input with a banner telling me to sign in. First thing that I noticed that is kind of missing compared to other AI apps is the prompts basically telling me what to do. Because of course, as a tech nerd, I've used AI, I kind of know how to use these things. But if you're just a new user and you don't really know AI, and Perplexity targets a lot these types of people, it would be cool to just give me a showcase of the kinds of things that I can do with Perplexity. Like, tell me what to search. Because an empty screen like this, it's very daunting, and people are probably just gonna use it like Google. Maybe that's their goal, and that's fine. But if not, they should have some kind of prompts for the first users. Let's start by tapping on the profile button on the top left. Oh, and it actually doesn't just push the view telling me to log in. There's an entire view here that I'm guessing I can access by swiping. So the app feels gestural. That's very cool. It makes things feel light. We have a get started card with one of the signature illustrations by Perplexity. I'm not sure if they use Midjourney or if they use their own model or what they do, but they have a very consistent brand style, a very consistent AI-generated brand style, which is very cool. And this is the part that most startups are trying to just straight up rip off nowadays. And here on the screen, we got a few extra buttons. So we have the Create Thread button, then we have Threads and Spaces. I'm not sure what spaces are. Organize your threads. Okay, so spaces are groups of threads. Then we have the button to create a thread and also the button with the pencil on the bottom right, which I'm guessing it's also to create a thread. For now, let's just go back into the home. I love that I can just swipe between it. Like, it's just a nice touch. And let's tap on the photos on the top right. See what those are. Oh, these are stories actually, so this is news. It kind of makes sense that these are news because I kind of forgot it, but Perplexity pushes very hard into this like news feed direction. It's one thing that for sure differentiates them from Claude and ChatGPT is that they go deep into this whole like, okay, we are the new news type of thing. And as we are here, we can just tap into a story. You can see that for each story, they have a bunch of sources. So in this case, for this NASA story, they have 44 sources, and the story itself is written by Perplexity. So this essentially makes Perplexity your new place to get news. You no longer need to go to the Financial Times, you no longer need to go to the New York Times and all of these other scattered publications. You just come to Perplexity and you get the sauce by distilling all of these sources. Now, as a monetization strategy, this makes a lot of sense because clearly people pay for newspapers and for news sources in general. So of course they would pay for this if it's good. Even without the rest of all of the cool AI features, this alone is a product that can have a lot of value. And also it serves as a differentiation from Claude and ChatGPT. If you're the average AI user, you don't use AI that differently from how you use Google. And so that means that to you, basically, Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, they're all kind of the same, right? They give you AI answers. But the other two options do not have a newsfeed. And if that's something that interests you, like I know some people in my personal life that love Perplexity because it is more like a utility suite for the average person and it just works very well for them. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at the UI here of the stories. So first, we just have a bunch of cards with the top stories. Nothing too fascinating, to be honest. Then we can go into tech and science. Okay, let's click, for example, here on the Spotify story. The animation between pages is interesting, but not the best. Like there's no persistent element through it. So that's a bit of a letdown, I'm gonna be honest. Let's try tapping on another one. But something that is very cool about it is that when I go into a story, notice the gradient up top that matches the image of the story. That's such a nice touch. Also, I love the font that Perplexity uses. I think their text in general is extremely clean with this like dark gray on the background and the gradients overlaying it. It just looks very good. Then we have a few smaller UI elements. For example, the stock increase of 2.82, and they do this because Perplexity also focuses a lot not just on news but also on financials. We're gonna see that later. And then we have the sources, so nice little UI here for the sources coming as a half sheet. Okay, pretty cool. And then more importantly, and the thing that truly differentiates them from New York Times and all of these other news outlets, is that you can ask follow-ups about it. So I'm just gonna say, why did this happen? And hit send, and it automatically creates a thread with the news source and my question about it. Few things I want to highlight here. First, this answer is very long. I would likely not read this, but there's a lot of cool UIs to see. So at the top, first we have the back button, then we have Perplexity, and this is this thread that we're seeing. Then we have web, and these are basically the sources for what they're displaying. And I really love this view. I wish other AIs add this view. Basically, don't make the sources an obscure thing, because frequently that's actually the thing that I want to go to. So I love that they have an entire tab just for sources. And then they have one for images, which I'm not sure what it's going to do in this case. Yeah, it's just rubbish. And here you can clearly see them basically trying to replace Google, because on Google you have your news, you have your links, and then you have your images, and they're pretty much taking that framework and applying it to AI. And I like the sources part. Now the images, it's basically trash in this case. And then we have a share button. So if we hit share, let's see what happens. It just opens the share sheet and you share your thread. So let's go back to the thread, because that's the most interesting part. We have here reviewed 10 sources as a little UI piece that opens a bottom sheet with a nice pills that they reuse for all of the sources. Then we have just text, text, text. And one thing that I'm gonna call out is this text is very readable, very easy to scan. So if you're looking to basically upgrade the way you display text on your app, I think Apple Books, the reader, and also Perplexity are two very good examples of just like text that looks good and that you can read on the phone, which is surprisingly hard to do. If you know, you know, but it's surprisingly hard to do. So let's keep going down and see more UI pieces that they have here. They have a few follow-up questions, so that's interesting. How do you successfully implement AI coding? And then they have a few just icons related to the message. We can copy it. We can, I'm not sure what this is, shuffle? Oh, to shuffle, or I don't know what it is. We need to create an account, so we're gonna do that later. And we can also just tap on one of the follow-up questions and we get the conversation going. Also, now there's a video tab for some reason. At the top, I'm not sure if you noticed that, but there's a video tab that came up. So let's tap it. What is here? 20 videos for how to successfully implement AI coding tools in Teams. Oh, so it's basically giving me YouTube links? Okay, let's tap one of them, see what that looks like. It's a sheet that comes from the bottom, okay? And it's basically YouTube links. Okay, so they're not only giving me the sources for this answer, they updated with my latest question, they're also giving me YouTube links. So this is just like Google, but better. I think I might actually become a Perplexity user after this video. I totally see them in this way replacing my Google usage. But for that, they need to be just plain better. Let's ask a follow-up. Let's say something nonsensical to see what happens. Now they're asking me to create an account. I've probably used all of like the free credits or whatever. So they just gave me an answer. And then there's also an icon to create a new conversation at the bottom right. I'm a bit confused as to why this would be here, but let's tap it. Okay, I don't know. It just took me to the home screen and up the keyboard for me to write something. It's very weird, because why would I want to be inside of a conversation about something and then basically just tap to go away? Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Anyway, now we're on the home. Let's try signing in to see what the signed in experience looks like. I'm going to sign in with Apple. Boom. My account. Yes. And now the first thing I see after signing in is the paywall. So I can be on the free tier, the pro tier, or the max. I really like this selector. Like, it's very simple, but it works very well. And I can continue on free or start paying for Max and Pro. Now, I already paid for Claude Max, so I'm not gonna subscribe to this, but I do wanna call out one visual thing that Perplexity is also exceptionally good at doing, which is, notice in this header where they have like their logo on a slightly faded gray, they have their very nice font in white, and then on the background, they have just a few thin lines that give personality to the interface and actually wrap around the buttons, but without being distracting. And I think this is an exceptionally cool example of using UI and illustrations without taking away from the main thing, which is, in this case, the selectors and the prices. Also, they use color very sparingly, but in a very nice way. So here, the blues, I think, make a lot of sense. And you can see that blue basically signifies Pro, because if I go into free, there's no blue. And then also they use this kind of orange on the save 35 euros. Cool, and we're just gonna continue with free. So continue with free, nice. Now at the top, we have Get Pro. We have my profile on the left, and it seems like we have new stories on the right. Also, I think we have new options on the input box. So that's pretty cool. But first, let's actually tap on my profile again and see what that looks like now. Boom, we have here my profile and a thread of conversations that I've had. In this case, you can see that in this account, I only had one conversation 1 year ago, and it was a test conversation. So I'm not very interested in this. Let's go back and go back to the stories, see if something changed. Oh, they prompt me for notifications now. It's a bit of an awkward moment because I was just in the middle of doing something. So I'm gonna hit not allow. And here on the stories, everything seems to be kind of the same, except that now we have a new UI piece telling me what I wanna know more of. So in this case, I'm gonna tap finance and tech, and that's it. There's no OK button. I just tapped it. Also, there's a search input. I kind of really want to see how they do search. So for example, let's search for storm. Okay, it's a bit underwhelming. I was expecting a lot more from this search, but it's just like text entries. So let's go with Anthropic Claude, see what they come up with. They show the UIs for reading the stories. They're still searching recent news. Okay, so we have recent news at the top, and then we have other news in the same cards that we had already seen before. Cool. Let's tap into one of the recent news to see if the UI is different. Oh, and actually it's not even just like the story UI. You go straight into the chat. I really love this UI when it's thinking, like just showing you what it's going to do. Yeah, it's basically what we had seen before with the chat, web, and images up top. Okay, so let's go back, cancel, and swipe back. I really love the swiping interactions. And swipe back to the home. Let's also, before starting to type, let's tap Get Pro to see the paywall. It's the same that we have already seen, but now it doesn't have the free tier. So you can see how this UI scales very well to different tiers. So let's exit. And now let's finally explore the star of the show, the input bar. Every AI app nowadays needs to have a rock solid input bar. So I'm sure the demand for designers and engineers who can do a very good input bar is like sky high. So pay attention to this part. First, we can see that the input bar itself is made with liquid glass. So you can see the corners shining through, and you can see that when I type, it becomes activated with light. So it's just liquid glass. Then we have a few buttons. We have plus, what I'm guessing is search, but it's not very clear, incognito, microphone, and voice mode. Let's start by just tapping into the input box and typing something to see what we notice. This is a test, and straight up, you see that this is a very, very different UI from the other AI tools, because it actually suggests you things just like Google. So to me, right now, it is clear that Perplexity is going after Google and not after Claude, for example, because this is how the average person uses Google, with autocomplete. And it's a good flow. It has worked for many years. It's a learned behavior by most users. So it's very cool that they just bring it on to the app like this. So I'm gonna try tapping on one of these. I'm hoping it doesn't just hit send. Okay, I actually missed it. Okay, very weird. So I'm tapping, just for you to see, I'm tapping on these arrows pointing to the bottom left. And instead of bringing that text to the input box, it's just closing it. Oh no, so I can tap it, but the tap target is like extremely small. Yeah, Perplexity, you need to make the tap targets larger on these icons. Otherwise, people are gonna miss them all the time. I missed it like 5 times before I managed to click, and I'm sitting down. So now that we have seen how to bring text from the autocomplete to the input bar, let's start tapping in one of the other buttons. So let's tap on the plus. Plus brings up a bottom sheet with these 3 options here for web, academic, and social. I'm not sure how much of an impact they have on the actual search results that you get, but they have a huge psychological impact. Because let's say that you're someone that, like many people, like believe in science and university and all of these things, basically trusted sources and experts. You would come here and click academic and suddenly feel like you're consuming academic knowledge and not AI slop. And again, I'm not sure how much of an impact it actually has on the answers, but psychologically, it is so different. And then also, if you're the opposite kind of person, you want to know what people are talking about and what's the general consensus. Instead of the academia version, you'd come and press social and now feel like you're getting that type of information. I cannot stress enough how genius this is, just for like people feeling like they are in control of the kind of information that the AI gives them. It's very different if ChatGPT just gives you some boilerplate answer, or if you come into the settings, you click your little academic button and now you feel very smart. Like, this is just very cool. I love that they did them, and I actually did not know that it was a thing. So let's try turning them all on, or actually turning off web, because we have seen the UIs for web. So now I want to see if they have different UIs for academic and social. Close the sources and just hit send. Boom, we have here working. We still see the web icon up top. I was expecting that to go away and be replaced by like an academic test. Now in this case, our answer is actually a YouTube video. So it's interesting that they actually show a full thumbnail on the chat. I'm not sure other AI tools do that. And if we tap it, it's just a bottom sheet that comes up and then starts playing the video. Other than that, the UI pretty much looks the same. But now, and this is a very odd choice, I think, the bottom bar has completely changed from the moment we got into a thread, from the moment where we were outside of one, where now it just says ask for follow-up, and the keyboard is not up by default, which is something that I would expect. The options that we have are different. So for example, I cannot switch into voice mode now, and I cannot switch into incognito mode in the middle of a conversation. That's also a bit odd that I cannot do that. And for some reason, once again, we have the create new button just at the bottom right. It feels like too accessible. Like, I want to enjoy this conversation now. I don't want to move on to another one. But maybe I'm misinterpreting it actually, because if they really are going against Google, then the point of Google is to get an answer fast, and you might want to get another answer fast, and then this button starts to make sense. So it's basically a decision between, do we want people to have long conversations and enjoy them, or do we want them to jump between topics and get their information as fast as possible? So that's a cool design decision from them. Something a lot less positive that I've noticed and I want to call out is when the keyboard is up. To dismiss the keyboard, you'd usually on iOS either swipe down or tap away. Now, because this entire thread is in its own little view, if I try to swipe down, I will close the thread. So I will not just close the keyboard, I'll close the thread. So instead, the only option that I have is to tap away. But to tap away, if I try to tap here, I'll open up the YouTube video. If I try to tap here, I'll see the sources. And if I try to tap here, it will open my initial prompt. So basically, there's very little space to close the keyboard without typing something. And that's definitely a problem. Like, if you do this, it should not close the thread whatsoever. So this is just a tiny UI detail that Perplexity should definitely consider. Okay, pretty cool. Let's go back into it and look at the input bar again. So we've seen the plus. Now I want to take a look at this other icon that is to choose mode. Okay, so we can do try pro search, but for that we have to pay. Then we have research and we have labs. Okay, so these are like the ChatGPT modes for different types of answers. Not gonna go into the pro modes now, so we're just gonna leave that. Want to keep it at search. We have incognito. So if I tap that, we just go into incognito mode. Not much to say about it, but we're gonna make our next search in incognito to see what that looks like. Then we have the microphone. So let's tap in the microphone, press allow. The outline around the text box is so cool. Okay, I love it. And also the send button is pulsing, so we can see that. And the transcription seems to work very well. So I'm impressed. Let's try hitting send. Boom. Okay, to send, actually, we get the paywall. Let's give 5 stars. I love the design work that Perplexity does. Submit. Okay. And now it was a bit of an odd moment to prompt for review since they're just showing me the paywall, but we'll give them a pass. Now, actually, my message was sent, so I did not need to pay to actually send the message, and we are just inside a thread now. Let's try sending another one. So just tap here the microphone. I love this outline so much. And now it doesn't seem to be listening for some reason. Oh, now it is. Okay, so let's just send, boom, and not much new. So we can just pull away. So last but not least, on the input bar, we have the voice mode. Do more with Perplexity Voice Assistant.
It's all about being warm, engaging, and friendly.
Okay, so it's speaking with me even though I had the pop-up over. And okay, there's a lot to love in this UI. First, the pulse at the bottom, it feels extremely alive, but also geeky. Like it's thin lines, and Perplexity loves to use thin lines for things. And usually thin lines look very bad, I'm gonna be honest, but they do it in such a nice way. And it's just replying to the video. Okay, Perplexity just explained the UI to you. I'm no longer needed here. So yeah, I really love this bottom part. It does seem tappable, so let's tap it to see what happens. It just goes into the middle, and it's just so cool. It looks like a whole like Cosmos thing going on. And then we just have the close button, and we have the microphone button. I'm not sure what the microphone button does, so let's tap that. Is it mute? Okay, yeah, it's muted.
Fascinating detail. The microphone button usually lets you activate or deactivate the listening mode. When you tap it, it can either start or stop the voice interaction.
Okay, instead of doing this whole video, I'm just gonna let Perplexity do it for you. I'm not sure why I even record these videos anymore. I should just do it with Perplexity. But yeah, jokes aside, Claude also had an extremely cool voice mode, but I think this one topples it in terms of UI. It's just fascinating what they do. And also an interesting choice is the text size. So because when you speak, you say a lot of things, like you just say a lot of content. And also when the AI speaks back to you, it also says a lot of content. I would expect the text size here to be smaller than what it is, but this is just extremely readable. So that's pretty cool. Let's just see what it answers now. And then we're gonna switch back to writing mode.
It's great to hear your thoughts on the UI. The readability of the text is definitely a key factor, and the whole experience really balances visual appeal with functionality.
Voila, there you go. And now it's getting into the more AI type of thing. So let's just exit. I love this voice AI. And this leads me into a bit of a rant about voice. Right now, AI apps are all about perfecting the input box. Basically, we need the perfect way for users to send text to us. But I predict that in the very, very near future, the demand for designers and engineers that can do good voice experience is just gonna skyrocket. Because if you use, for example, Claude Code a lot, you're probably already speaking with it. I'm sure I am already speaking with it. People are already speaking with ChatGPT. People are sending voice notes to their Claude bot. And so over the long run, voice is gonna become more and more of an input system in replacement of text. And there's a few reasons why voice is actually the preferred input method for AI. First, it's less friction if you're alone. Like speaking is a lot easier than just typing, and you can do it faster. So it feels like it's less of a chore. Secondly, when you speak, you almost for sure say more things than when you type. Therefore, you give more context to the AI, and in turn, the answers that you get are better. So basically, speaking leads to more context, which leads to better answers, which leads to speaking again, etc. So it's a very good flywheel for speaking to replace text. And then last but not least, it allows new interfaces. It allows, for example, I have the Meta glasses somewhere on that desk. It allows you to just speak with the Meta glasses. It allows you to speak with your watch, with your AI pin, with whatever new form factor comes up. Speaking is just a lot more adaptable than typing. If you're a designer right now, or an engineer looking for things to focus on, I think voice will be exceptionally important and in a very, very high demand. So Perplexity, there's a lot to love from the animations, the look and feel, the UI, the illustrations. Like they do a lot of things very well. Clearly, they also have some points to work on, especially this one for closing the keyboard. Like this is such a core thing of the app, such a core flow that I really think they should fix it. But in general, it is another exceptional app to take inspiration from, and the work that they're doing is just top notch. So kudos to the Perplexity team. I also hope this video is helpful to you guys to fix some of the things you need to fix. And I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.